Hey guys, so I'm sure a lot of you have heard about multiverse and saw a lot of science fiction movies around it and all that stuff. But I think the real question and the real reason why scientists are even considering that to be any describing any part of our reality, I think that's the wonderful part about it. So I came across a very simple thread of thought, which uh, is what uh, which is what might explain why scientists are considering taking the idea of multiverse seriously. So let's just jump right in. So it starts with a simple argument by Richard Feynman in one of his lectures. What he was trying to say is, if you really get very close or deep down, really get close into the deep down parts of the universe, like one electron or one photon and those kinds of stuff, very small space, what you would want to expect is a simple picture. Basically, that a photon travels in a straight line, an electron, when it comes near another electron, it just repels it with a force, and that has an equation. And those rules actually make a little bit of sense. And the such simplicity is what uh, gave rise to our thinking that universe actually made up of many elementary particles and atoms, molecules, and so on. So this is one philosophical perspective, let's say, that you might hold about the universe, which in quantum theory today is not really an observation. For example, in a slit experiment, what happens is, this is a double slit, and there is a screen behind it, and a photon which travels at the speed of light goes past through these slits, creating very weird patterns, so to say. But what's really weird about these patterns is that if you, let's say, close this slit, the nature of patterns simply changes to something else. And it's not, there is no way to explain that the photon goes from this hole and then this hole or this hole basically, and then what happens in case of just one uh, slit, one open slit, and what happens in case of two open slits, how they in any way relate to each other. So it's like, it's basically like when the photon, and what we know for sure is that a photon never splits. It's, there is no wave theory that is happening. Photon is actually just a simple particle traveling through space. And how we know this is, if we keep a photo multiplier here, a photon detector here, we know that like a light, like photon only travels through one of the slits at a time. So basically, we're all the way around, and the picture which, the mathematical nature which by which we can describe this phenomena almost feels like as if the photon, when it's about to arrive at a surface, it like this double slit here, it actually sort of sees what is the path it is going to travel from, and based on that decides how it has to travel through it. So it's a very, it's like the photon makes up its mind kind of stuff. And uh, and basically it's very important to actually understand this very simple thing, that it seems to be making up its mind, that it's not that there is any way to explain that it goes randomly through these 2 points and then a figure gets formed here. There is actually no way. It's just, you have to take in account that the photon is actually seeing what's coming ahead of it and deciding based on that how it needs to behave and how it needs to actually travel through that. So it's really mysterious, as if, the where is the photon's computer, where is, how is photon actually. And the starking thing about why it breaks this simple picture is, this is the fastest thing that can exist in our universe, right? This is, travels at the speed of light, and it goes so fast, sees all kinds of things about its environment, and then decides where to go, how to go, and some kind of very complicated rules, and all that computation happens very quickly at the speed of light, and we get some weird shit. So there definitely this picture which Richard Feynman painted, right, about the very fundamental particles and the very small things about our universe gets seems to be breaking down, and it's as if the photon is actually not an elementary particle but some kind of a very weird stuff which has a mind and all that kind of thing you can build upon. Of course, I'm not actually referring, should not have called it mind, but a simple algorithm or something, which is not actually simple but takes into account multiple variables and sees ahead of it and those kinds of stuff. So this is how the breakdown happens. Now, what and why multiverse here comes into picture is what multiverse simply says in the philosophical sense to understand this complexity, how this complexity arises is there is not one photon here. There is actually like billions, trillions, or almost infinitude of photons that actually travel at any given point in space, and these represent uh, like the different parallel strands of universes or something like that. And when these go through like different kinds of environments, they interfere differently. So all these photons, right, when they travel, they can actually jump across universes, and they can uh, like change their positions. What is called as interference, right? That is what in the multiverse theory is the meaning of interference. That these shadow photons and all these like photons of in the multiverse, the copies of the photons of a single photon in the multiverse, they interfere in very strange ways, but which are actually very simple. That's the solution here, which are actually very simple interactions. But because there are like too many of them, trillions of them, we and the interference, though simple, is between millions and trillions of such shadow photons ne- and multiverse strands. So that is how this complexity arises. So the basically the question which Feynman asked was that in our current picture of the universe, the uh, simple elementary stuff ought to be um holding and following simple rules. But what the multiverse finally say, but we don't actually see it in experiments. This is where I explain how the slit experiment breaks down that argument and breaks down that picture for us. And the multiverse gives a solution as to how that simplicity actually holds, but our just the entire picture of the universe changes, and um, it's in fact due to the interference of shadow and like infinitude of photons that can split across multiverses is why these complex stuff even arise.